Let's take a look at an automation here inside of Photoshop that's going to help you resize your images, your photos a lot easier. A lot of people don't even know about it. It's called Fit Image, and it really comes in handy when you have horizontal and vertical photos, because you're going to find that if you resize these using image size, Photoshop's not going to really act or behave the way you thought it was. So let's take a look at an example here. Let's start off with our horizontal photo. Let's look at the image size here. 3500 by 2300. And then let's look at the vertical one. It's going to be the same, just in reverse, okay? Because it came out of the same camera, so now it's 23 by 3500. Well, I want to resize these. So let's start off with the vertical, and let's create an action to do it with, because chances are when you're resizing one photo, you're probably going to want to resize a bunch of photos at the same time, so you don't have to do it, especially if you're trying to get stuff ready for the web. So let's record our action here. I'll call it resize. And inside here, I'm just going to go to image, image size. I'm going to hit 1200 pixels. And see, 1200 by 800, so I'm going to hit OK. Or I'm sorry, I want to do 1600 pixels. That's a little bit better. So let's do 1600 pixels and hit OK. So that records that step. So let's stop. Now let's resize this image. So now let's run it on this image here and run the same action. You see it's going to resize the photo. But watch what happens here. Let's look at the vertical one. We know this one is 1600 pixels in width. Let's look at the vertical one here. Go to image size. See what it's done is it made this one 1600 pixels in width as well, because that's what Photoshop's looking at. It sees these width and height dimensions here, and it figures, okay, well, I'm going to make it 16 by 1067. Well, it doesn't really translate into the right sized photo. I'm not scaling this one the same as I was scaling this one, okay, because now both of these are 1600 pixels wide. You can see the windows here. They're both at 12.5% magnification, and they're both 1600 pixels wide, so not really what you're after. So let's look at how to fix this. Let's go back to our, we'll undo here, and then let's go back here and let's undo. So let's get rid of our resize action here. I'm going to record a new action, and we'll call this one resize, just like we did last time. This time, instead of using image size to change the image size here, I'm going to go under File, go down to Automate, and you're going to see something in here called Fit Image. So it's under the File Automate menu. Go to Fit Image, and let's constrain this image, okay? Let's constrain it to 1600 pixels in width, and let's constrain it to, remember when I changed that original one, it was 16 by 1067. So let's just use those same, that same aspect ratio. Let's constrain the height to 1067, so 16 by 1067, okay? If you want to make it larger, you can. Photoshop's not going to mess with the aspect ratio here. So if I want to make it 1200, I can do that as well. So we can leave it there. Hit OK. Now it records that step and it changes this image. So let's stop recording. If we look at this photo here, we can see image, image size, 16 by 1067. So even though I had 16 by 1200, Photoshop just made the width 1600 pixels. Now let's go to the vertical one, and I'll play the same action on it and watch what happens here. Remember last time when it made the width of the vertical one 1600 pixels as well? Well, if I go to image size here, this time it knew that I wanted that to be 1200 pixels based on the size of the image and the aspect ratio, the orientation. It knew I wanted it to be no more than 1200 pixels in height. Okay, so it uses your width and your height and determines how you want your image basically to fit the window here, okay? And again, remember, it hasn't changed any of the aspect ratio. I haven't distorted the image at all. We still have the original proportions of the image here, except now I get more of a reasonable size image that I wanted from this photo here instead of this one being 1600 pixels as well. So just remember that when you want to resize your photos, and if you want to add them into an action here, use Fit Image. Again, it's right under the File menu. You go down to Automate, and you'll see right here, it's called Fit Image.